Alright guys, working on a 2016 model Dodge Charger with a 5.7 HEMI. And what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and knock out the spark plugs. Now on these V8 HEMIs, they've got of course it's V8. A lot of people would think, hey, it's a V8, so it's going to have 8 spark plugs. Well, on these HEMIs, I've actually got 16 of them. So first thing you want to do is you go ahead and remove this cover. Get this little bad boy out of the way, and that'll expose your coil packs, harness, where the plugs are actually sitting. Let me set this on this motor right here. Yeah. And they're very easy. I mean, less than an hour's work, you can get all 16 installed. But this is your coil pack. And underneath these coil packs should be 2 spark plugs. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16. So these actually have these little red tabs, and they're safety tabs. So they got to be lifted up before you can push the button, squeeze, and pull up. So the first thing I would do is go ahead and, of course, make sure you go to the parts store and get the parts you actually needed. And on this one, of course, this is the spark plug actually for the 5.7 HEMI. And the difference, there's multiple V8s for these Dodges. Some of y'all can afford them bigger engines, some can't. But those that get the bigger V8, see how this one has a washer right there? The actual bigger V8, not the 5.7, but the 6.4, it's actually tapered. So make sure you pay attention when purchasing your spark plugs. But yes, this one is correct. It's got the washer right there. It's not tapered. So this is the one that we're going to be installing on here. But these actual spark plugs are actually, they're actually coated on the threads, guys. So this is a trivalent metal plating that's actually on these, and they're anti-corrosion and anti-seize. So we don't have to put anything on there. So we're not going to install no anti-seize on these plugs when installing on this or in the heads. All right. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and remove these little clips, and we'll go ahead and get started, guys. So probably get a screwdriver, pop this up to squeeze. Now, when removing those wires, it's got the little red tab on there. So what I do sometimes is I'll pop a little screwdriver right here, and I'll lift upwards. See how it lifts up? Then what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze right here and push out. So just like that, guys. And do that with all of them. Once you do that, you can go ahead and remove your coils. Your coils, of course, I always use these DeWalt impacts when removing. When you go to install it, do not impact it down, because then you have a chance of breaking these bolts. You need to torque these down to a certain spec. But we're going to go ahead and remove all these bolts. I mean, like so. And do the same with all of them. Get these coils out of there. Progressing getting these screws out of the coil packs. There will be some obstacles that you have to deal with. See how this dipstick is directly kind of in the way? You will have to remove the 10mm nut that's actually down there. So in this case, it's actually right there. You can barely see it. It's my camera getting kind of blurry, but it's right there. See it? And the best way to get to that one, I would just use a curved ratchet wrench, because about that angle, you can get to it freely without having to deal with any of these piping. And once you break it loose, get your hand in there. I can go ahead and get the nut out myself. And then it makes this loose. See this? Now I can just slide him out of the way. Boom. Do not pry this in any way. Just let it slide down. You don't want to damage the tube itself. It's going to be an obstacle right here. This is just your evap. He's flexible and can move, so there should be no problem right there. Your tube right here, Might have to move him out of the way. Pop, pop, and that'll pretty much clear it out on this side. So I'm gonna continue removing the screws over here, and we'll get these coil packs out. All right, guys. So I went ahead and got all the screws on that side, removed this side, except we got to get one more. Get that guy out of there. And therefore, once you do that, you can go ahead and start removing the coils. It should come out like that. This is what it should look like. And there's your 2 spark plug holes. It's going to be the same for all of them. Probably the easiest way. That side, you just have to maneuver it around this tube right there. But there it is. Then you go ahead and get the proper socket, extension, and probably a magnet, a little magnet to get inside there to remove your spark plugs. All right, so pretty much you'll need an extension. In some areas, if you can use a swivel extension, that would even be better. Where this swivel's right here. But the socket that I'm using, 5/8, and a simple ratchet, because you're gonna have to break them loose. So per manufacturer, you know, of course, all the spark plugs are torqued to manufacturer spec. I already done broke this one loose, but I haven't pulled them out. And of course, they've got deep threads. So, if you can get a, like, you know, that little dewalt tool, if you can get that guy in here to do all the labor as far as once you break it loose, and just lay them out, and that will save you a lot of time. Because again, look at all the threads. See how deep that is? Woo! And grab yourself a magnet and grab it. And there is an actual plug. But we're gonna go ahead and replace them with fresh entry key plugs. And at the very least, as I described earlier in the vid, I did describe which one's the difference between the V8s. Notice this one. Always compare. Always compare. Make sure whatever you're putting in is exactly what's coming out of there. That way you're right on that. And these are always majority of the time, they're already pre-gapped. These are iridiums. So see that little diode? Do not bend that little guy. See that little guy right there? He's very delicate. So they're already pre-gapped. They're ready to stab it in there. You do not have to coat these with anti-seize because they already got some plating that's on here. All you got to do is stick it in there and torque them down. Of course, you know, you're looking at 19 to 22 foot-pounds. 19 to 22 foot-pounds. Do not go over, or you can destroy and damage something, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and remove the rest of them and get these new ones installed. And, you know, you just drop it in there and tighten them down and get ready for torque. Loosened all the... Well, I didn't loosen this side. Ouch! I thought I did. I went ahead and did get this side though, for sure. I know I did. Let's get these out of there. Yeah, they should all slide out pretty easy. Usually, you want, if your iridium plugs, these, they usually want you to replace them every 100,000 miles. Or if you had an engine go ahead and gives you misfire, this is the cheapest fix on a misfire. Coil pack's usually the one right behind it. Before it goes into doing a fuel injector, hopefully it's not a compression issue. But yeah, these are usually the cheapest fix. 2, 4, 6, 8. So there's 8 of them. That's out on the driver's side right here. And of course, this car didn't give us a misfire, but still, with that many miles, you want to go ahead and take care of your ride. So, guys, When dropping your spark plugs in there, on manufacturers, they've actually used a grease to place in here. And it goes inside here. See that white cream grease? It's actually dielectric grease. Go to use dielectric grease. I went ahead and inspected all the tubes, and it looks like there's plenty from the manufacturer still inside there, so I'm not going to use any. That's just me. You could if you wish. Again, nothing goes on the threads when dropping them inside your deals. So you could check to make sure there's no damages when they're boxed, but in this case, when you get spark plugs nowadays, they come with these wrapped around it, so there's no damage can occur on the deal. But it's always good to double check, making sure that there is that it's not bent, because if it's bent right there, you won't have the arc. And all you do is just slide it in there. Once you have them all in there, just go ahead and start tying them all down. I missed one. There he goes. Yeah, he's good. And if when you go to tighten down your plugs, because you're pretty much going in a straight pattern, but try to keep it as straight as possible. That way you do not cause anything to cross thread. You do not want to cross thread it, because I'm gonna tell you right now, it is a very pain in the butt trying to fix the threads in this, because it's way down in there. And you got to buy a special tool from the parts store to fix it. And that's just more trouble. Just hold it as straight as possible. And instead of using a tool, I know I have the tool attached to it, do it by hand. Do it by hand until the threads catch. Once you catch, then you can go ahead and just use the tool and feed it all the way until it bottoms out. Don't go no more, because you got to manually torque it. Okay, so do it by hand. So you break this loose right here, like so. But yeah, manually do it. Once you know it's caught, move on to the next. And then if you want to double check your work to see if it did catch, you can stick the magnet back in the hole, and that would tell me, hey, it ain't coming out. But you didn't fight it while twisting it down like so. So, all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this side. Now notice I'm holding it pretty much straight, guys. Straight. And when I use this tool, once it bottoms out, no pressure after that, nothing. This does not torque it. I'm just using it to get these bad boys down. Notice how this snakes inside the holes as well. Works like a charm. Works like a charm. Now that that's happened, you can go ahead and get your torque wrench. So of course, you know, they look like this. It's a torque wrench. And then go to foot-pounds. I'm gonna set mine for 20. What's that? I did not get it set for 20. All right. There we go. I got it set for 20. So there's 20 at the very bottom, and then 0. And now I'm gonna go ahead and torque them down. And when you hear a click, that's it. There is nothing after that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do a few, and then I'm gonna do the rest. So once you bottom out, you just turn it until it clicks. There, you heard it, it clicked. That's it. Nothing goes up, nothing goes more beyond that. Once you hear a clicking noise, you stop. All right, that tells you you're at 20 foot-pounds. Because when you tighten these down, these are fluffy washers. When you tighten it down, it crushes it. And then it bottoms out, and then once you hear it click, you're done. No more. Now go ahead and do that with the rest of them. Then we'll move on to installing the coils. All right, so now you've got all the spark plugs torqued down. What I usually do, guys, is I like to go ahead and just run my eyes across all of them, making sure that all of them are in. Because there's so many of them, you could always miss it. It's always nice to go ahead and backtrack your work. You can go ahead and grab a ratchet and stick the extension back in the holes and see if any of them will move. You know, using a small ratchet, and if any of them move, that means you didn't torque that one down. So make sure you go ahead and double check your work. And once you do that, she's ready to go ahead and put back together. And of course, you know, you grab the coils, and coils just pretty much slide back in the way they were removed. Like that. It shouldn't give you no fighting, nothing. Just pop right back into place. And then you go ahead and grab your screws that were removed. And go ahead and stick those back in there. So get your screws in, and then we'll move on to the connector. And last but not least, don't forget your little screw that goes at the bottom. So I'm gonna get that done, guys. After you do that, reconnect your coil wire, and you got your little lock tab. Make sure you drop them. Like so. Once you do that, move on to reinstalling your dipstick. It's on the passenger side. Don't forget that little guy. And that's at one little nut that's at the bottom. Of course, like I was saying earlier, you might have to have somebody with a small hand. So once I got them on there, I'm gonna use this little ratchet wrench and tighten her up. But make sure you do the same on the passenger side as far as your coils and your electrical connector. And once you're pretty much done there, that's pretty much it, guys. Look at all these spark plugs. That is a lot of plugs for a motor. Go ahead and grab your beauty cover again. Slide that bad boy back over it. Got my little air tube off on the side. There we go. Now she's ready. Look for the oil fill cap tube area. And it should pretty much just pop together like that. Dipstick is a little grooved area that's exposed. Make sure your oil cap goes on. Don't want to forget that guy. And that's it, guys. That pretty much completes the installation of the spark plugs on this beautiful 5.7 V8 HEMI. Hope you guys liked my video. I appreciate you watching my video. Stay tuned for much more videos, and please hit the like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.